Hello friends, welcome to Affairs Cloud. We learn to lead. My name is Vikas. So friends, in this video we'll be discussing the most important current affairs of the March month related to topic indexes and reports. This is the second part of the video. Do watch the first part also. In that we have very important questions also that will be covering your March month. So do watch this video till the end, hit the like button, share the link of this video friends, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, do subscribe. So let's start with our video, but before that we have something important to tell you about. We have an app by the name Carriers Cloud which you can go and download through the Play Store. Once you have downloaded the app, you will open the app and you will see this type of screen. In this, you can go and log in with your Google account, that is your Gmail ID. Then once you have logged in, then you will be moved to this page where you can see a window. If you click on the current affairs section here, then you will be moved to this page. Now this is where magic happens. This is the course where there are two courses provided by us. First, you should know it is of 1 year and 2 years. So choose your course accordingly. What we are providing and what is the reason behind that you should purchase course of current affairs from us, and what are the important details about it. First thing, you should know that we provide you current affairs in both English and Hindi. Okay. Also, we provide you here current affairs daily. PDFs are provided daily. The important factor here to remember is we are providing PDF to you daily. Okay, that contains question answers of the daily current affairs. They are explained in a much easy way where you can grasp the knowledge and do your revision. Okay, apart from app, we provide you with question answers. Then on every day we provide you 20 question answers quiz, daily 20 questions quiz. So imagine how much it will benefit you in your preparation. Then we provide you same thing for weekly. In weekly we take a quiz of 50 questions. Then question answers of week, we provide you a book, PDF is provided you weekly of the compiled questions of the whole week. Similarly for monthly also, ebook is given, your quizzes are taken, question answers PDF. Then apart from it, we also help you to prepare for banking papers. All the banking exams you can go refer to our videos and our courses here. You can see here the we provide you banking and economic quiz of 157 questions. Okay, then topic wise PDFs are covered. As you can see, we are making videos on indexes and reports, important days, the books and authors, all the events that are taking place in individual months. So these PDFs are provided to you and they will help you a lot in your preparation for journal awareness, your journal studies, as well as for current affairs. Then you can see we also provide you current affairs for state-wise current affairs are provided to you. Apart from this, I have a gift for all of my friends here. If you use my code Vikas10, you will be getting a straight 10% discount on the purchase you make. So when you are about to check out and do the payment, just before the payment, you will be getting an option to use the promo code. There you can put the Vikas10, the code, and you will be getting an extra 10% discount on the total purchase you make there. So let's start with our video. So the first report that we'll be discussing today is State of India's Environment 2021 report. This report has been released by Down to Earth magazine, and according to this report, more than 375 million children will suffer from health related issues that will be caused because of this pandemic. It can be the issues can be related to your weight, overweight, due to mental health and various other reasons. Alright, so the important thing that you need to remember from this State of India's Environment report is who released this report. This report was released by Down to Earth magazine. First question. Alright. Second, it will be asked about 375 million children will suffer. This is the data that has been published in this State of India's report. Then another thing you need to remember that India was ranked as 117 out of 192 in sustainable development. Alright, do remember this rank of India in sustainable development, that is 117. If we look at the data given in the report, According to the State of India's Environment 2021 annual report released by Down to Earth magazine in association with the Center for Science and Environment, India is set to begin a pandemic generation as 375 million children that are between the age of 0 to 14 years old may suffer from long lasting impacts such as underweight, stunting, and increased child mortality to loss in education and work productivity due to pandemic. Include here stress also. All right, stress will also be one of the most important factor that is affecting today's youth. Over 500 million children have been forced out of school globally, with India accounting for 50% of such children. This is a huge data. All right, that all over the world 500 million children have been forced out of school, maybe because of their financial conditions or maybe due to any other issue. And the data is 50%, that means 250 million are from India only. That is a huge data. Then 115 million people may get pushed into extreme poverty by pandemic. Majority of them live in South Asia. India was ranked 117 out of 192 nations in terms of sustainable development, behind all South Asian countries except Pakistan. Alright, so moving on to next, if we talk about air pollution here, then in 2019, 1.67 million Indians lost their lives due to air pollution alone. The economic cost of this was $36,000 million, which is equivalent to 36% of the India's GDP. It is highlighted that the need for vehicle scrappage policy by 2025, around 20 million vehicles will reach the end of their lives, adding to the pollution and environmental damage. And then if we talk about water pollution, it is stated that Jal Jeevan Mission's target to provide drinking water to all rural households by 2024 needs to focus on making water source sustainable, recharge of groundwater and rainwater harvesting. So what should people basically focus on, and what is your Jal Jeevan Mission's target? It is that we should focus on more sustainable resources of water, such as recharge of groundwater, rainwater harvesting, collecting your rainwater. So that is an important issue that we should focus. All right, then next, India has spent 34% of Manrega, that stands for Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, the funds on water related works, which has led to creation of around 11 million assets in half a million villages. All right, then during the pandemic there was no significant improvement in the water quality of Indian rivers. River Ganga can run even more dirtier during COVID-19 period itself. All right, so that is the reason India was ranked 117 out of 192 nations in what sustainable development goals. All right, then another data you need to remember here is that the name of the report, that is State of India Environment 2021. This is the report released by Down to Earth magazine in association with Center for Science and Environment. All right, and this data states that the 375 million children may suffer long lasting impacts, that may be underweight, stunting, increased child mortality, that may be stress or education and work productivity due to pandemics. All right, so this was your State of India's Environment report that was released by Down to Earth magazine. Next, we'll be talking about Kwak Simons World University Ranking. This university's headquarters is in London, UK, and in this ranking, 12 Indian institutes have topped in the under 100 universities. All right, so 12 Indian institutes were in the top 100 universities of the Kwak Simons World University ranking. All right, so if we look at it, it is QS World University ranking. QS stands for Kwak Simons World University ranking. All right, in this from India there were 12 universities. All right, earlier it was 8, and then now it has been updated to 12 university. And this Kwak Simons University, if we talk about, its headquarters is in London, UK. All right, so let's look at some of the data. The unveiling of QS World University ranking by subject 2021 was virtually held, which was addressed by our Union Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank, who is our current education minister. The number of Indian institute in the list of top 100 has increased to 12 from 8. That means earlier there were 8, now it has been 12. These are the, if we talk about some of the university that has been named in this list are IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, IIT Madras, Kharagpur, IISc Bangalore, IIT Guwahati, IIM Bangalore, IIM Ahmedabad, JNU, Anna University, University of Delhi, OP Jindal University. So all these universities has been ranked in this QS World University Ranking. Why this university ranking is prepared? The annual ranking covered a total of 51 disciplines grouped into 5 broad subjects areas to help prospective students to identify the leading universities in a particular subject. Following table shows that the list of topper institute and Indian institutes in top 100 among 5 broad subject areas and other disciplines. Alright, about Kwekabadli Simons University. It is the world's leading provider of services, analytics, and insight to the global higher education sector. It is providing university rankings since 2014. Its headquarters is in London, UK. If we talk about some of the recent related news, Henley and Partners released Henley Passport Index for the Q1 of 2021 global ranking, where India's rank was 85th. So the question will be, friend, what is the rank of India in the Henley Passport rank? What is the rank of India in Henley Passport Index? So the rank of India is 85th with a visa score of 58. The visa free score states that Indian passport holders can visit to 58 countries without a prior visa. That means they can go to that particular country directly and can get a visa on arrival. India shared this rank with Tajikistan. Then second related news we'll be talking about is that in accordance with the 10th edition of the report titled Global Corruption Barometer Asia 2020 by corruption watchdog Transparency International, India has the highest bribery rate of 39% in Asia and the highest rate of people 46% who use personal correction to access the public services. We will read this once again, and this is saying that the 10th edition of the Global Corruption Barometer Asia 2021 was released, and this Global Corruption Barometer of Asia 2020 was released by Watchdog Transparency International. Alright, then in this it is stated that the India has the highest bribery rate of 39% in Asia itself and the highest rate of people 46%, that is who use people's connection to access public services. Alright, so moving on to next news. Next we'll be talking about business to customer index. This business to customer index is released by UNCTAD. Alright, I repeat, this business to customer index is released by UNCTAD, and in this particular index, B2C e-commerce index, the rank of India is 71. Question will be straightly and it will be direct, that what is the rank of India in B2C e-commerce index? What is the rank of India? The rank of India is 71, and the total countries that took part in this was 152. Then another question will be asked, who releases this report? It is released by UNCTAD, UNCTAD. Alright, then next, one more question. It will be asked, which country topped the B2C e-commerce index? It was topped by Switzerland. Alright, so if we look at some of the related data, in accordance with UNCTAD B2C e-commerce index 2020 spotlight on Latin America and Caribbean, India ranked 71 out of 152 countries as compared to 75th position in 2019. So the rank of India was in 2075, and in 2020 the rank of India is 71. The index measures an economy's preparedness to support online shopping, where B2C stands for business to consumer. UNCTAD is an acronym for United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. The index has been topped by Switzerland for the first time, which has surpassed the Netherlands. Notably, 97% of the Swiss population used the internet in 2019. The online shopping was estimated at 4.4 trillion globally in 2018, up by 7% from 2017. In 2019, an estimate of 1.5 billion people, or 27% of the world's population aged 15 years or older, shopped online. This again represented 7% increase over 2018. All right, so that is an important data. If we talk about the countries, the rank of India was 71. First was Switzerland, second was Netherlands, third stand at Denmark, fourth was Singapore, and fifth was UK, that is your United Kingdom. All right, then if we look at some of the related news regarding this topic was there is a Lowy Institute. All right, according to Lowy Institute Asia Power Index 2020 edition released by the Sydney based Lowy Institute, India with a score of 39.7 out of 100 is the fourth most powerful country of Asia. India is the fourth most powerful country in Asia as per Lowy Institute, that is Australia based Lowy Institute, and the score of India is 39.7 out of 100. Second, COVID Performance Index Deconstructing Pandemic Responses. This data is also released by Australia-based Lowy Institute. India's score was 24.3, where the rank of India is 86 out of 98 country. That states about how well or what was the response towards tackling the pandemic of India. So in that response, that how well a country responded and how well a country was tackling this situation of lockdown and all this pandemic going on. So in that performance index, the rank of India was 86 out of 98 countries, and that in this too, this index was released by Australia based Lowy Institute. So two indexes were released by Lowy Institute. First, the Asia Power Index 2020 and COVID Performance Index by Lowy Institute. In one, the Asia Power Index, the rank of India was fourth in the most powerful country in the Asia. And in Australia-based Lowy Institute released the report COVID Performance Index. In that, the rank of India was 86 out of 98 countries. Then, moving on to next. Next, we'll be talking about India's oil suppliers. Iraq is the largest oil supplier of India. First thing you should remember, this is the first question, that who is the largest oil supplier of India? It is Iraq. All right, then recently US has become the India's second largest oil supplier. All right, if we are talking about India's oil supplier, who is at rank 1? It is Iraq, and at its second position is USA. All right, second position is the second largest supplier of oil to India is USA. If we look at some of the data related to it, according to trade data released by Reuters, the United States surpassed Saudi Arabia as the India's second biggest oil supplier in February 2021. Next question. Next question will be framed like, who releases the data related to oil suppliers? It was released by Reuters. All right, and in this it stated that the United States surpassed Saudi Arabia as the India's second biggest oil supplier. Iraq continues to be the India's largest oil supplier despite a 23% decline in purchase to a 5-month low of barrels per day. India's import from America increased to 48% to a record of 545,300 billion barrels per day in February 2021. Saudi Arabia slipped to number 4th position for the first time since January 2016, and Nigeria rose to 3rd position and UAE slipped to 5th position. Totally, India shipped 3.92 million barrel per day of oil in February, decline of 18% from January itself. Then, if we look at the positions, who is the largest oil importer for India is, first is Iraq, second USA, then Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, and UAE, that is United Arab Emirates. Do remember this. This is an important data that you should know. This is the whole summary of what we just read above, and this is the important fact that you should know about. Then, if we look at about Reuters, where is the headquarter of Reuters? It is in London, United Kingdom. President is Michael Frydenberg. All right. Then, if we talk about OEPC, that is oil exporting. If we talk about OPEC, that is Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, there are 13 members in that, and those 13 members are Algeria, Angola, Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Libya, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Venezuela. All right, so these are the 13 countries who are part of OPEC, that is Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Then moving on to next. Next, we'll be talking about Hurun India Wealth Report 2020. In this, it stated that the India has, or the Maharashtra itself has 56,000 millionaire households, that is the highest in India. I repeat, in a report by Hurun India Wealth Report of 2020, it stated that there are 56,000 millionaire households in Maharashtra alone, and that is the highest in India. Alright, so if we look at the data, Hurun India released the Wealth Report of 2020, in which Maharashtra ranked the first in the state-wise distribution of high net worth individual households with 56,000 billionaires or $56,000 millionaire households, followed by UP, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Gujarat. Just remember that it is saying that there are 56,000 millionaires in Maharashtra. This is the data that is being told here in the Wealth Report 2020 that was released by Hurun India. Then next it is saying, if we look at the state-wise distribution of the Hurun National Index 20 households, it is saying that in Maharashtra there are 56,000 millionaire households. Number of richest Indians, there are 247. In Uttar Pradesh there are 36,000. In Tamil Nadu there are 35,000. In Karnataka 33,000. And in Gujarat 29,000. Main, you need to remember the data of Maharashtra because it topped the list with 56,000 millionaires in Maharashtra alone. Maharashtra is the highest gross net state domestic product generating state in India with growth rate of about 13.16%, and it is contributing around 16% of the national GDP. This is important. Growth rate is about 13.16% and it is contributing around 16% of the national GDP. Other states in the top 10 list of dollar millionaire households are West Bengal, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Telangana. Each have 18,000 millionaire households each. If we look at the key points about Wealth Report 2020, around 70.3% of the millionaire households of the country are in the top 10 states of the report. Based on the reports of the happiness index is about 72%, where it is 85% in 2019. If we are looking at some of the other recent related news, the second edition of the Kotak Wealth Hurun Leading Wealthy Women 2020 was jointly launched by Kotak Wealth Management, a division of Kotak Mahindra Bank and Hurun India. Roshni Nadar Malhotra, the chairperson of HCL Technologies, has topped the Kotak Wealth Health Hurun India 2020 and was named as the India's richest woman with a wealth of 54,850 crore rupees. I repeat, Kotak Wealth Hurun Leading Wealthy Women 2020. In this, Roshni Nadar Malhotra has topped the Kotak Wealth Hurun 2020 index and was named as the India's richest woman with a wealth of 54,850 crore rupees, and she is the chairperson of HCL Technologies. If we talk about Hurun India, chairperson is Rupert Hoogerwerf and the headquarters is in Mumbai, Maharashtra. And if we are talking about MD and chief researcher, it is Anas Rahman Junaid. Alright, so this was your Hurun Global Report, Hurun India Wealth Report, in which it stated that Maharashtra has 56,000 millionaire households. That is the highest number of millionaire households in India, and the state is Maharashtra. Remember that. Alright, then moving on to next. Next, we'll be talking that India has the fourth strongest armed forces. I repeat, in a report or in an index of Ultimate Military Strength Index, it came out that India has the fourth strongest armed forces. I repeat, India has the fourth strongest armed forces. Alright, and this was a report of Ultimate Military Strength Index. Ultimate Military Strength Index by defense website Military Direct. India with 61 points is the fourth strongest military force in the world. Remember this line. India is the fourth strongest military force in the world. This was presented in a study of Ultimate Military Strength Index that was released by defense website Military Direct. Alright. Next, China with 82 points was rated as the world's strongest military force, followed by USA 74 and Russia 69. So if we look at the rankings, then India first is China, the strongest military force, second is USA, third is Russia, and fourth is India. Then the index considers factors like budgets, number of inactive and active military personnel, total air, sea, land, and nuclear resources, average salaries and weight of equipments. World biggest military spender USA is that in the USA spends about $732 billion per year on their military, followed by China with a $261 billion, and India spends just 71 billion US dollar on the militaries every year. All right, so the important data is the rank of India is the fourth, that is India is the fourth strongest military power in the world. If we look at some of the recent related news, India ranked 6th as the nuclear weapon increase since 2019. US tops CIPRI's yearbook 2020. Alright, then about Indian Armed Forces, the President of India is the Supreme Commander of the Indian Armed Forces. Chief of Defence Staff is Bipin Rawat. Alright, so moving on to next. Next topic is our International Intellectual Property Index. India ranks 40 in this International Intellectual Property Index. Let's see. India with a score of 38.40% has been ranked 40 out of 53 global economies in the 9th edition of the International Intellectual Property Index, that is Recovery Through Ingenuity 2021, that is released by the US Chamber of Commerce Global Innovation Policy Center, that is GIPC. US, UK and Germany topped the index. Rank of India was, that is important that you should know, the rank of India was 40th in the 9th edition of International Intellectual Property Index that was released by US Chamber of Commerce Global Innovation Policy Center. Alright, and the countries that topped the index were USA, UK, Germany. In the 8th edition, India scored 38.46%, so there is a decline of 0.06% from the previous year. The IIP, that is International Intellectual Property Index, released annually by GIPC, evaluates the intellectual property rights, patents, copyright policies, commercialization of IP assets and ratification of the international treaties of 53 global economies. The report states that the overall global IP environment has improved in 2020, with 32 out of 53 countries recording positive improvement in their score. So, rank of India 40, first was UK, second UK, third was Germany. Alright, important data, do remember it. Then moving on to next. Next we'll be talking about the report on currency and finance. Alright, first we will look at the theme. The theme was reviewing the monetary policy framework. Remember, this is important and has a higher chance of being asked. So, in accordance with the internal report from the Reserve Bank of India, namely report on currency and finance for the fiscal for the year 2020 to 21, the theme reviewing the monetary policy framework, India's medium-term inflation target of 4% with a plus minus 2% tolerance band is appropriate for the country. This is in the lieu of the RBI's flexible inflation target mandated. India adopted the flexible inflation targeting framework in 2016 and the government is due to review the same before the 31st March 2021. The period of study of this report is from 2016 to March 2020. Alright, then moving on to next. Next is your gender equality has costed the world around $70 trillion since 1990. In this report, according to this report compiled by the economist of the Bank of America, gender inequality has cost the world around $70 trillion since 1990. It also stated that it would take a minimum of 257 years to bridge the gender gap. The loss of human capital wealth due to gender equality is estimated at $160.2 trillion. If all countries become a gender equal, the global gross domestic product will increase up to 28 trillion US dollars by 2025. Alright, important market. The report also states that LGBTQ plus community is equal to the fourth largest economy in the world with a $3.9 trillion. Note, the LGBTQ community is equivalent to the fourth largest economy in the world with a $3.9 trillion. So do remember that this is important. Next, pandemic deepens gender equality. What was the impact of the pandemic on gender equality? The report states that the pandemic has a further deepened the gender inequality crisis. Due to pandemic, around 96 million people are estimated to slip into extreme poverty in 2021, out of which 47 billion will be women. All right. Women's jobs were 19% more at risk as compared to the men, and this is the data that has been reported, or that is the data that came in this report. All right. So it is an important one. Do take a note of it. You should know the data that were given in this report. All right. So who released this report? This report is released by Bank of America. All right. Moving on to next. Next, do remember this point. This is also important related to LinkedIn, that LinkedIn's the opportunity index of 2021 reports highlights of 85% Indian women misses promotion on gender basis. In January 2021, LinkedIn surveyed 10,000 working women in the Asia Pacific region and released the Opportunity Index 2021 report, which revealed that 85% of the Indian women felt missed out of salary hike or promotion because of their gender, while the number stands at 60% in the Asia Pacific region. 66% felt that gender equality has improved from the time of their parents. Shockingly, 9 of the 10 women revealed that they were negatively impacted by the pandemic. Pandemic has impacted each and every one of us. All right. So these such issues arising is not a big shock. Next we'll be talking about mobilizing of electric vehicle financing in India. This report was released by Niti Aayog and Rocky Mountain Institute, that is RMI. All right, released by Niti Aayog along with RMI, that is your Rocky Mountain Institute. All right. Then Niti Aayog along with Rocky Mountain Institute India released the Mobilizing Finance for EVs in India. EV is your electric vehicles, a toolkit of solution to mitigate risk and address market barriers report. The report analyzes the risk and market barriers involved in transforming India's electric vehicle sector and provide the target instrument to overcome the hurdles. What are the key takeaways of this report? Indian EV market size to be of $50 billion, or you can say about 3.7 lakh crore rupees by 2030, which is equivalent to 80% of the current market size of India's retail vehicle finance industry, that is about 4.5 lakh crore rupees or 60 billion US dollar. To achieve the targeted transformation, there needs to be a capital investment of $266 billion, that is roughly 19.7 lakh crore in EVs charging infrastructure and the batteries by 2030. What are the type of batteries that will be using? That is lithium ion batteries. All right. Then re-engineering vehicle finance and mobilizing public and private capital will be critical to accelerating the development of 50 million EVs that could be plying on India's record roads by 2030. Identified hurdles for transformation: technology cost, infrastructure availability, and consumer behavior. So these are the hurdles that basically we are facing, because charging station is also one of the biggest problem, that the traffic and the population of India is also another risk factor, or the factor that need to be taken considered. All right. Then if we look at some of the related recent news, Power Minister RK Singh launched India's first public electric vehicle charging plaza in New Delhi and RAISE initiative. All right. If we talk about Rocky Mountain Institute, RMI is a US based non-profit organization founded in 1982. Function is to work on the transforming the global energy sector to create clean, prosperous and zero carbon future. Headquarter is in Colorado, USA, and the managing director is John Christs. If we talk about Niti Aayog, it is National Institute for Transforming India, the primer policy think tank of the Government of India that was established in 2015. It replaced the Planning Commission that used to make the 5-year plans. Alright, so this Planning Commission was established in 1950. Chairperson is the Prime Minister of India, CEO is Amitabh Kant, and the Vice Chairman is Rajiv Kumar. Alright. Next, As per the World Bank report, BBIN countries, that is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India and Nepal, can be the economic growth pole of the sub-region countries. Alright, as this is the report released by World Bank. As per the recent report titled Connecting to Thrive Challenges and Opportunities of Transport Integration in Eastern South Asia, released by World Bank, India, Bangladesh have a potential to increase their national gross domestic product by 8% in India, in particular road connectivity, and 17% in Bangladesh with seamless transport connectivity between two countries. Alright. Then also reports suggested that BBIN, that is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India and Nepal, eastern sub-region countries became an economic growth pole for South Asia. What are the connectivity developments we are talking about here? The report analyzed that the Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal motor vehicles agreement and finds the strength of MVA and prosperous policies actions the countries can take to strengthen the MVA agreement, that is motor vehicle agreement. Development in connectivity tends to be used for growth on BBIN countries, and the World Bank is an active partner to invest in the areas in this sub-region. An important component of this development is for the countries to invest in the connectivity such as rail, inland waterways and roadways. Action to improve regional connectivity. Regulate the infrastructure design and expand the effective capacity of core transport and logistic infrastructure along regional corridors will improve regional connectivity. As we are talking about the motor vehicle agreement, so what this will help in? This will help in connecting the regions that are not yet connected with the other modern cities. So it will be of very useful and it will help in boosting the economy. Export between India and Bangladesh. Bangladesh exports to India could increase by 182% and India's export to Bangladesh by 126% if the countries signed a free trade agreement as per the World Bank's earlier report suggestions. Improving transport connectivity between the two countries could increase exports even further, such as 297% increase in Bangladesh export, and for India it would be 172% increase in India's export to Bangladesh. Then if we talk about what is motor vehicle agreement. Motor vehicle agreement between the BBIN countries was signed in 2015 to make the smooth cross-border movement of the cargo, passenger and personal vehicles between the four countries. Under the agreement, trucks carrying export, import or transit cargo can move inside the territories of other countries without transshipping to local trucks at borders and land ports. However, the implementation of MVA has been delayed as the countries work to clarify some of the provisions that are supposed. Alright, so this is important. Do take a note of it, of the BBIN countries, that are Bangladesh, Bhutan, India and Nepal. So if they work together as per the report of World Bank, if they work together, they will have a significant increase in the import and export of each countries. Next, we'll be talking about a report by VDEM Institute. It stated that India now an electoral autocracy. I repeat, a report by VDEM Institute stated that India is now an electoral autocracy. According to the Autocratization Turns Viral Democracy report of 2021 that was released by Swedish-based VDEM, that is Varieties of Democracy Institute, stated that India's regime type has turned into electoral autocracy in 2021 from electoral democracy. Hungary and Turkey have also been demoted as electoral autocracy. So if we talk about autocracy, what is autocracy? Autocracy is a system of government in which supreme power over a state is concentrated in a single person, alright, whose decisions are subjected to neither external legal restraints nor regularized mechanisms of the popular control, the implicit threat of coup or any other thing. Alright, that means there is no group of people controlling the nation. It is just a single people, alright, just one person who is, in which all the power of the state is concentrated to just the same one person. So if we talk about autocracy, if we talk about North Korea, all the power is concentrated to just one person, that is Kim Jong-un. So that is an example of autocratic government. India has registered a 23% point drop on the Liberal Democracy Index scale, marking one of the most democratic shift among the all countries in the world over the past 10 years. Based on the LDI index, the top 3 democratic countries in the world are Denmark, Sweden and Norway. Liberal democracies have declined over a past decade from 41 countries to 32 countries. This is the fifth annual report from the VDEM Institute and is based on a data set of 202 countries. If we are talking about India, the Indian part of the report was compiled by Shreya Pillai and Stefan in Lindbergh. India is now autocratic as Pakistan is now worse than Bangladesh and Nepal. India, along with Brazil, Turkey, USA, have been listed among the 25 most autocratic nations in the world. What is the reason for decline of India from democracy to autocracy? Is deterioration of the freedom of media, academic, civil society, and use of sedition law to curtail voices. The report has also highlighted the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act used by the government to restrict the entry, exit, and functioning of civil society organization. It also highlighted the Citizen Amendment Act of 2019. Alright, so this is the reason of decline in India basically. This is the report by VDEM Institute. India is now an electoral autocracy, and earlier it used to be termed as electoral democracy, but now it has been termed as electoral autocracy by Varieties of Democracy Institute, that is VDEM Institute. Alright, then moving on to the next report. Next report suggests that only 11 countries, that is only 11% low income countries make their data open. This report has been released by World Bank and it says that only 11% of the low income countries, or you can say the developing countries, make their data accessible. According to the World Development Report of 2021, Data for Better Lives, released by World Bank Group, most of the countries across the globe shy away from an open data policy. It states that only 11% of the low income countries made available a license classification as open. What are the gaps in data and on women and girls? The report states that gap in data on women and girls were severe. Only 10 of the 54 gender specific indicators, that is 19% in the UN Sustainable Development Goals, were available. Only 24% of the available gender specific indicators were from 2010 or later. If we are talking about India, there is an absence of data on poverty in India. India monitors 54 out of 130 sustainable development goal indicators. The overall number for monitored indicator has gone up. So we are just monitoring 54 out of 130 indicators. However, the state of India's environment in figure 2020 points out that India has dropped 4 indicators from its tracking list. So according to the World Bank's development report titled Stronger Data Systems Needed to Fight Poverty, India's e-commerce regulations may be biased toward local companies, thus failing to provide a level playing field to a foreign platform. In 2018, India prohibited foreign e-commerce companies from ownership or control over the inventory of seller partners or their platforms. India has strict guidelines governing foreign direct investment in e-commerce firms. If we talk about some of the recent related news, according to International Debt Statistics of 2021 released by the World Bank Group, COVID-19 has deepened the debt crisis in developing countries. If we talk about the president of World Bank, he is David Malpass and the headquarters is in Washington DC. Alright, if we in Washington DC, there is a headquarter of another banking institute, that is International Monetary Fund, IMF. Alright. Next, we'll be talking about a report by the Niti Aayog CEO Amit Kant stated that net zero emission energy transition is achievable by 2050. I repeat, a report by Niti Aayog's Amitabh Kant stated that net zero emission energy transition is achievable by 2050. So let's look what does it say. According to the report of India transforming to a net zero emission energy system released by TERI, that is the Energy Resource Institute, and Shell, other known as Royal Dutch Shell place, the net zero emissions in energy system of India is achievable by 2050. And this report was released by whom? Amitabh Kant, who is the CEO of Niti Aayog. I just said, you can see in the picture. This report was released by Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant. The report is one of the first assessments of the challenges that India would face if India were to move towards net zero emissions energy system. What are the factors needed to achieve the target? Let's look at them. Suitable policy and innovation driven context for deploying the clean energy technologies on a massive scale. Development of new fuels such as liquid biofuels and biogas, as well as hydrogen produced from electrolysis. Third, carbon removals, that is technology and nature based solution, will help a major role in moving towards zero emission. This zero emission means that they will be a carbon neutral by 2050. That means we won't be releasing so much of harmful gases that we are releasing in this present day. What are the areas of action specified by the report? The report highlights the transformations needed by India over the next 30 years for India to achieve the goal. Let's look at them. Accelerate clean technologies. Growing the power sector by a factor of more than 4 in 30 years dominated by the renewables is very important. Fixing a target of 13% hydrogen in the final energy, including as a fuel for industry and transport. If we talk about bioenergy, transform bioenergy with liquid biofuels surpassing petroleum products by 2040 to field industry, transport and aviation. Support energy efficient and low carbon choices. That is, if we invest in processes, technologies that end users to improve energy intensity per unit of GDP by almost 60% by 2050. Adopting economic mechanisms such as carbon trading to facilitate reallocation of capital and resources to support commercialization of new fuels and technologies. What is if we remove carbon emission? Why carbon is important? Because if we remove the carbon from the if we remove such carbon from the environment, it will help us, because carbon dioxide is known to store the warmth or to store the heat. That is the reason global warming is increasing and the temperature of the earth is increasing. All right, so that is the reason we have to remove the carbon from the atmosphere. Restore to carbon sequestration to an extent of around 1.3 gt CO2 or carbon capture and storage CCS to achieve net zero carbons by 2050. All right, so this report is very important, and this report, if we talk about who released this report, all right, this report was released by TERI, that is the Energy Resource Institute of India, along with the Shell, and this report was inaugurated or was just put to the public by Amitabh Kant, who is the CEO of Niti Aayog. All right, let's move on to the next. Next, we'll be talking about India's e-commerce industry. All right, a report recently stated that the India's e-commerce industry will be about of $99 billion in size by 2024. That is a huge amount of data. All right, and $99 billion is a huge industry. If we talk about the report, India Trend Book 2021 released by Ernst Young India Private Equity and Venture Capital Association. In this report, India Trend Book 2021, India's e-commerce market is expected to be of worth $99 billion by 2024, and that is a huge amount. All right, this data, that is India Trend 2020 Book 2021, this was released by Ernst and Young India Private Equity and Venture Capital Association. It is also anticipated to grow at a 27% compound annual growth rate over a period of 2019 to 2024. Grocery and fashion apparel will be the low key drivers of this growth. India will have 220 million online shoppers in India by 2025. The penetration of the online retail market is expected to be 10.7% by 2024 compared to 4.9% in 2019. The report also states that by 2023, 1.2%, or you can say about 10.5 billion US dollars of India's grocery sale will be online. India government aims to build a $1 trillion digital economy by 2025 through Digital India program. What is the reason for this sudden boom? Increase in online users across the various segments coming from the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Raise of technology adoption among small and medium businesses, initiatives by government to digitize the traditional offline market and boost the e-commerce sector through Startup India, Digital India, Skill India, Innovation Fund and Bharat Net. Alright, so this is the report that was released by Ernst & Young, India Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, and the name of the report is India Trend Book 2021, and in this report it stated that India's e-commerce industry is to be of about $99 billion in size by 2024. Then moving on to the last news of the day, it is about the India's digital skilled workforce, and it stated that India's digital skilled workforce needs to grow ninefold by 2025, and this report was released by Amazon Web Services. All right. The Amazon Web Services released a survey report titled Unlocking APSC's Digital Potential, Changing Digital Skill Needed and Policy Approaches. The report states that the present workforce of India comprises only 12% of the digitally skilled employees, and digitally skilled workforce of India has to be increased ninefold by 2025. The report was prepared by Alpha Beta, a strategy and economic consulting firm, and commissioned by AWS. Basically, remember, it was released by AWS, that is Amazon Web Service. The report identified 4 types of workers who need to gain new digital skills by 2025 globally. Currently digital skilled workers, currently non-digitally workers, future workforce, today's students, and individuals who are unemployed or involuntarily excluded from the workforce. These are the types of 4 workers that need to gain new digital skills by 2025. What about the report? The report states that the research surveyed around 3,196 workers across 6 Asia Pacific countries, which include Singapore, Australia, India, Indonesia, Japan, South Korea. Over 500 digital workers from India were surveyed in India itself. The report has 3 parts. It analyzes the digital skill applied by the workers in their job, projects the digital skills required by the workforce over the next 5 years, and provides workforce skills development recommendation for the policy makers. If we are talking about India, around 70% of the workers in India have applied advanced digital skill for their job. The top 5 in demand are cloud architecture design, software operation support, website, game or software development, large scale data modeling, cyber security skills, etc. Around 76% of the digital workers in India is expected to cloud computing to be an essential skill. More than 50% of the digital workers in the manufacturing sectors expect cloud architecture design and the ability to create original digital content to be accessible for them to do their own work. If we look at some of the recent related news, the National Skill Development Corporation partnered with California State University to fulfill the increasing demand for a digitally skilled force in India. The initiative is led by eSkill India, the digital skilling unit of NSDC, that is National Skill Development Corporation. Alright, so as per the report of AWS that is released by Alpha Beta, states that India's digital skilled workforce need to grow by ninefold or by 9 times by 2025. So friends, this was our video. I hope you enjoyed our video. If you liked our video, do hit the like button, share the link with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel or if you are new to our channel, then do subscribe because it motivates us to bring a better content for you guys. Also, if you have any trouble regarding login or payment or any other issues, then you can reach to us on our mail, that is support@affairscloud.com, or you can call us on the number 9677333862 and we'll resolve your issue as soon as possible. Also, you should go and check our courses that are available at a very reasonable price, and that will help you to boost your preparations for upcoming government exams. You can use the code VIKAS10 to get a straight 10% discount on any purchase you make. Alright, so that's all for the day. Take care.